Let me thank all health workers for their sacrifice of love, for working 24 hours round the clock trying to save lives. Posterity will be kind to you. Thank you. So, Mr. President has announced an extension of 2 weeks stay at home. Not bad. We can do that. That's not my problem. My problem is, what are we doing? Strategy. Who exactly is in charge of this war against coronavirus? You know, if we keep sweeping things under the carpet, they're going to turn around and bite us. And whatever you allow, you have given approval to. So, let's deal with this. You know, plainly, looking at ourselves, let's tell ourselves the truth. There are two sets of people out there. The uninformed and therefore ignorant people, most of whom live in the rural areas, and then the very angry ones, daily workers who live amongst us, who do not understand why you have asked them to not make a living, to just stay in their house and wash hands. Who is catering for them? Who? You know, I don't understand it. Whoever told a politician that the best way to give a very hungry man food is to drive the food through a crowd and haul it at them? You told us social distancing, but what we see is social clustering. You make people sprawl in front of you because of food and then they fight over it. How dehumanizing. You have turned them to animals, that now what they do is actually act like animals, attack people in their homes, believing that those are the problems. After all, this is an urban myth. Big man's voila. You know, you could have just very simply printed vouchers, bought this food and used the structures that you as politicians created. During the elections, you went to your wards. You spoke to people in the language that they understood. You engaged these young people. How is it that at this particular point, you do not know that most of these young people who are resident in your constituency can be useful? How is it that you do not know that you can hand them the food, the vouchers, and give them the list to go door to door and deliver this? You don't play politics with life. No, you must make them beg you as the big man that you think that you are. Which brings me to the banks. You were quick to make donations. Great. You have data. You have everyone's information who banks with you, because at every transaction you take something away. You keep deducting people's money. When you have a crisis like this, you deal first with the most vulnerable. So by their statement of account, you can identify them with ease. All you needed to do was use the same structure that you use in deducting monies from them, that you sum up and announce as your annual profit. Use same structure and pay in a little something into every account that they can survive on throughout this lockdown. But no, you must book your next big customer, which is government. You know, it's funny how government forgets government structure. And that's why I'm asking, who is actually in charge? Because it is you I want to address. You can use those word structures. Use them. Speak to people in the language that they understand. Let the politicians go back there and speak to their constituents. Use those words as sensitization area, as speak up area, and of course as testing ground. We are running out of time. If we don't do this very quickly, we're going to have more trouble on our hands. Why? Because we do not know who the last person was who went struggling for food. Right now we are all at risk. Save us the trouble, save this country anarchy, and please do your work now. God bless Nigeria and keep us all alive. Who exactly is lying to the president? Who? The president has announced the easing of the lockdown on the strength of a lie. Who is lying to the president? We've been locked down now for 5 weeks. Prior to the lockdown, they made us a commitment of testing 1,500 persons every day. 1,500 persons times 14 days is 21,000. Times 4 weeks is 42,000. How then can the committee tell us that they have tested only slightly above 10,000? Today we're close to 2,000 persons who have tested positive to the virus. If we use the strength of 10,000 total already tested and 2,000 already infected, that places us at 20% infection. That's higher than every other country. Research findings are based on percentage. Who is lying to the president? Because on the strength of a lie, he has approved an ease and he has also approved an increase in the number of people to be tested daily to 2,500. If they could not accomplish 1,500, then how are they able to achieve 2,500 a day? The nurses and doctors and all health workers are working extremely hard, breaking themselves into pieces just to save lives. And a few people are sitting in the comfort of an air-conditioned room and reaching agreements that empowers only their pockets. Why make a mess of people's effort? Why? You know, sometimes when I sit down and I think of some of the things that people sit in committees and come up with, I wonder what runs in their veins. Blood or water? Because they really act like people who don't feel the pains of others. You have moved responsibility from yourself and you have hung it on the neck of the common masses. The same people that you are supposed to be protecting. During the lockdown, a lot of the poor were on the streets. Why? Because your palliative did not get to them. So they were out there struggling to see how they can feed off the food that you hold at them. So the palliatives didn't get there. No one is empowered to carry out research. So research isn't going on. Nothing is going on. And now you are throwing people back in the streets. A street that you haven't fumigated, you haven't cleaned up, but you have told us that this virus is airborne and can stay airborne for 8 hours. I don't understand. Do you even assume that everyone is stupid? Let us take, for instance, Lagos State. With no traffic during the lockdown, they could not trace people who had contact with those who had tested positive to the virus. They couldn't trace them. So imagine now, with traffic, how they will trace anyone. And if someone needs help deliberately, how will the NCDC get to the person? I don't understand. Do we want to end up like Ghana, who lifted their lockdown prematurely and ended up with all the casualties that they have? Can we handle that casualty? Someone is lying to the president, and that person needs to stop. The president cannot be allowed to reach decisions on the strength of a lie. And Nigerians cannot live with this lie.